Okay, so this is about the Black Friday, Cyber Monday 2024, and I, funnily enough, made it with the name the only Google Ads profit playbook you'll ever need, because it's basically the most comprehensive guide of what you should and can do with Black Friday, Cyber Monday for Google. So what we're gonna do and what we want to do in this, the stuff that is in this presentation, everything that Black Friday, Cyber Monday has is creating strategic advantages in auctions with clients. And ultimately, how we're going to do that is partially by future pacing the algorithm for maximum profits. I'll explain you exactly how that's going to go. The first thing that we're going to look at is exploiting the promotions in the merchant center and typically the do's and don'ts. You guys are already aware of that. We can set up promotions in the merchant center and how to do that, obviously. On Meta, I've seen that people year by year, they run the most exotic type of offers. Google Shopping operates with a standardized set of options. So as you can see below here in the image, we have a percentage off, we have an amount of free gift and free shipping. And from that selection, from the promotion category, there's also subtypes or promotion types. So if you want to do a buy one, get one free, that option is there, although Google writes it a little bit differently. But I've also seen systems where there's like a tiered discount. Now, those exotic type of offers that people run on Meta is not really translated into Google. So for the businesses, you want to validate before, like, hey, what are you going to do in offers for Black Friday, Cyber Monday? Because if they just want to do a percentage off site wide, that's cool. If they do a percentage off a certain collection, that's cool. But if they come up with a completely self-developed type of discounting structure and they want to roll it out on Google, you likely cannot. So they have to fit inside these standardized type of patterns. Otherwise, they can't really run it. And if they can't run it, you cannot really have the visual annotations that you get in shopping ads. So for example, as you can see here on the right, you either get a sale item like this emblem, this annotation right here, or you can get a price drop emblem. Sometimes you have also stuff about free shipping in here. And you can see that the one in the middle, and this is a screenshot from last year's Black Friday, the one in the middle was not on time with their Black Friday. I checked the website, they did have a Black Friday sale, but they were simply not on time. And that is something that I saw last year as well. As you create now a promotion in your promotion in the merchant center, it will pretty much be approved in 15 minutes, maybe max an hour. But during that week or prior in that week prior to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I've seen it can take up to 3 days or longer before it all gets approved. So you want to be on time with your promotional offers. If you're not, you're likely going to miss out on the visual annotations that your shopping ads can get and also your performance max. So ideally, if you can, set them up at least 1.5 weeks in advance to ensure everything is reviewed on time. And that includes that you might have had a rejection, because the next part that we're going to look at is this. If you're not basically one-on-one verbatim writing over what the promotion exactly is, you have a highly probability that your promotion is going to be rejected and you're simply being pushed to the back of the review line. So for example, I've seen last year businesses where they had a specific discount, but it was only on a specific collection. Now, that collection was not written out in the promotion, and Google reviews that and says, well, that's not accurate. We're just gonna say rejected. The problem is if it took you 3 days to get reviewed and you get rejected, now it's gonna take you another 3 days in that line. So make sure that by the time Black Friday comes around, you have enough time to sustain a rejection and you got that stuff up, because otherwise you're simply missing out. And it's a lot of sales that come through here for a lot of brands. So if you have a 20% site wide, just say 20% site wide and don't get all creative with writing it. Make it as close to what it is, if not verbatim, as what the website says about what the offer is. Then we're also going to talk about product availability and speed are key during Black Friday or the seasonal events like with Christmas sales as well. Now we have the ability, as you can see here, we also have the free shipping option. So if clients don't offer free shipping, you have the availability to fill it in. How this is going to show up is you can get badges like these, like free 2-day shipping or ships free and fast. These are key things for people to make decisions of, especially around the Christmas time, because they want to know if they can get it on time, but also if there's shipping cost included or not. So that's another option that you could add. So here's the 2-day shipping, and here's generic free and fast. Free and fast doesn't say too much, but 2-day shipping is way more powerful. So if that's something that your client is offering or can offer during the holiday season or Black Friday, Cyber Monday, leverage that as well. Because the more emblems you can show, the more people will buy from you, because Google Shopping and Google Ads is typically a price comparison engine by default. Now we're going to look at how you can stand out with shopping through product titles and images tweaks. So as you all know, product titles on shopping are always matching user intent. Now, what I saw last year as well is some of the competitors that I actually was doing the advertises for took it to an all new another level, and they used the word Black Friday at the beginning of their product title simply to attract a more, let's say, if anybody would search for a goggle Black Friday deal, they would pull up and some others might not. So you're simply expanding your auctions. Be aware though, this is what you want to do with a supplemental feed, and also make sure that if you do this, that you remove the supplemental feed afterwards, because otherwise it stays in your product title and after the event, you don't want to show it anymore. So what it does is it expands on the auctions, and you can acquire some additional auctions based on having this in your first few words of your product title. It can be good, and it is just another little bit of that you show. It's kind of like the storefronting principle, where if you can add something in the product title that is searchable, but at the same time also good for people to know that it is a specific Black Friday deal, then you can do that. And then this one works both ways, because yes, people are looking for Black Friday goggles or Black Friday skincare, Black Friday deals. So in this case, might be a good idea. The other way around, Google just launched the Product Studio beta in a Merchant Center, and you're able to tweak your backgrounds of the products. So formerly, Google would highly would basically at all times disapprove your image if it didn't have a white background, if there was any overlays whatsoever. But now with their own, I believe it's Gemini that they're using in the background, with their own AI tools, now you'll be able to create backgrounds. So if you want to stand out and you have some top performing products, so I have a few brands that just have a handful of products because it's very much DTC and it's very much easily sellable. So in this case, it's easy to create new backgrounds. You want to test that, but you can imagine that if the rest has white backgrounds and you're the only one right now with a different type of background, you instantly stand out. Now, the more and more people are going to use this, obviously the effect diminishes a bit. So it's kind of like right now it's happening. And ultimately you want to test whether one background is working or not. But in this case, I prompted a background that fitted to the product. And in this case, it was a really nice one. So you have the opportunity to stand out with shopping. Now, if we're talking resellers, so people that are having a lot of SKUs and a lot of products in their merchant center, this obviously is maybe an idea for the top sellers, but for the majority, it's not, because it's just way too much work. Then, one of the most interesting parts. Black Friday is a really big sale event. And if you know that people are gonna buy more during these days. The conversion rate goes up, etc., etc. So what we're going to talk about now is like the algorithmic forecasting to maximize the profits and pull the levers to prep the algorithm before the actual event. Because algorithms always work in hindsight. How the algorithm of Google works is it looks at the last 3 weeks without looking at the last 7 days, and it uses that data to predict, find patterns, and see what probability has to predict your next customer. But if a big sale event comes up, or any sale event for that matter, that like a Labor Day sale in the summer is not something that he anticipates. So you got to tell that up front, as you would do with Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So algorithms use past data to predict the future customer results. They analyze patterns and trends to work in your favor. So ongoing feedback is then crucial through conversion tracking. The more they can track, that gives feedback to the algorithm if they were right with their prediction. And therefore, it's able to reanalyze the data and say, okay, if this and this worked, we're going to this direction because that's where we get the most customers at a certain ROAS for. Now, if a sale event occurs and the algorithm can't anticipate it, this is where you always will need to instruct it with the right data cues. And that's what we have to do here. And how we're going to do that is simply by setting up a seasonal bid adjustment. So this is an option in your Google Ads dashboard that's a little bit hidden, but what you can do is simply say you either want to move up the budgets or the conversion rate. Now, budgets I typically do manually. You can also do it through here. You can set the conversion rate. What you want to do here is say, okay, what is the start time and the end time of that event? You can select the campaign types. To what campaign types does this apply? Also, what devices? And the most important one here is, what do you expect in the conversion rate adjustment? So for example, if you on the regular days, you have a conversion rate of, let's say, 2%, what would that then be during that sale event from Black Friday, Cyber Monday? Is that a doubling? What is that? So typically, this is how you fill it in. Now, to come to that data, how would you say what that increase of conversion rate adjustment is going to be like? Ideally, you want to review last year's historical data from that same period. So Black Friday, Cyber Monday in 2023. What was the average conversion rate uplift during that weekend? Was there also a difference between devices? Was desktop converting higher than mobile or different around? And if that is the case, you might want to set 2 seasonal bid adjustments, one for each device. Now, the other question is, did the conversion rate significantly change in the weeks leading up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday? As you guys might have noticed, the majority of brands have been launching their Black Friday, Cyber Monday offers more and more in advance. So sometimes even as early as October 1st. So it's getting earlier and earlier. So if you have a trend where they launch already halfway through October or beginning of November, you already have this uptrend of conversions. And so you have to take that into account. Like, was that happening last year? Did we have an early bird Black Friday, Cyber Monday event last year? And are we going to do that also for this client this year? Because if you don't, the results will be completely different. And you might have to take that into account when you set your conversion rate adjustments for these seasonality and changes. So ultimately, leverage all these past data points to guide your adjustments. Now, this is an example of what a Black Friday, Cyber Monday season up until the end of the year looks like. So you always have this ramping up period. So you can see here, November 1st, you see that the costs are rising and a lot of people are searching, but they're not buying. So this is something that you're going to see in a lot of accounts that you manage, because everybody knows at the beginning of November, Black Friday is at the end of the month. Let me already do research. And if you look now at Google Trends and you'll search for anything with Black Friday deals, you see that people halfway through October are already going to look for specific deals. So they're already orienting themselves, but they're not buying. So last year as well, I saw this with a lot of clients where the intent was growing. So the costs were rising, but the conversion rate was dropping in November. And if you know, you would think like, hey, something's up. But actually, it's not. It's just a lot of people orienting themselves, but they're going to buy during that weekend. So you're going to see a ramping up period typically where the costs go up, but the conversion rate typically either tweaks. If you already have a Black Friday, Cyber Monday offer ready, they might already buy. But if you don't, they will wait until that moment. And then you can see that the weekend of Black Friday, Cyber Monday is right here. You see a massive peak in costs, in conversion rate, and typically your return on ad spend based on that either stays the same or what. But the volume simply crashes through the roof. Then you have a little bit of a scale back period. That is after the weekend. Black Friday and Mondays here. You have a little bit of scale. Then you have another peak right before right before halfway through December. And then obviously after halfway through December, as the majority of brands cannot guarantee a certain delivery date, you see that it simply goes off. And this is where you should scale back. So there's typical two moments where you want to use your seasonal bid adjustment. That's right here and right here. But make sure that you check last year's history data for your brands, because it's always unique to the brand. But this is like a generic typically thing that you can see that is happening. So ultimately, you want to segment by campaign types or individual campaigns and avoid applying settings to the entire account. As we saw, we could do it for PMAX, for shopping, but for example, display and YouTube convert completely differently. So make sure that we, check everything into detail. And obviously, the more volume an account has, the more spend per month an account has, the more you want to split things up. If an account has only, spent like 10K or so per month or less, you don't have to dig into that deep because it's just not worth it. And they don't have the volume to sustain that typically. Now, what you can expect is a 3 to 10 times spending surge in costs during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So you want to take a bit of a conservative approach based on the historical data that you see from last year. You can just compare it like, okay, what are my normal budgets throughout the weeks and the months? And then what happens during Black Friday, Cyber Monday? It's just a nice exercise because there's brands out there for who this quarter and specifically Black Friday, Cyber Monday and pre-Christmas are 60% of the yearly revenue. So it becomes very important that you want to nail this for a lot of brands. But be aware that you don't want to overuse your seasonal bid adjustments. As said, you want to reserve them for those typical peaks. And if it's crashing down real hard, also to the downside, but not really anything much. And ensure that you always have a sufficient daily budget to avoid exhausting your campaigns. So this is also something that happens. There's going to be a checklist of this and a baseline what you want to do. But you want to always increase your budgets because you're setting a seasonal bid adjustment, meaning that you expect your conversion rates to go up. That also means that instead of, if we have a 2% conversion rate, that means that we need 50 clicks to convert. But what if it goes up to 3 or 4%? Now we need only 25 clicks to convert. That means that for the same budget, we don't know yet what the CPC is, but we will be able to spend more because our conversion rate goes up. So make sure you increase your budgets and look at last year's data if you have to understand what you need to do here. And then on top of that, there's one thing that on the day itself, and this pretty much accounts to high spending brands from, I would say, 20 to 30K and upwards spend per month. When you're on the day, you want to be there and look at least the dashboard every 3 hours, because if you have reached 80% of your budget by the afternoon, you want to push it even further, because if Google understands that you have already reached 80% threshold of your budget halfway throughout the day, they will very hard put on the brakes. So that 80% is kind of like your limit to say, okay, I need to push budgets more. Ideally, you already set a budget that's high enough, but that's like internally, that's how Google looks at your budget. So make sure that you got that covered. Something else, and that's very important. Before GA4, we were on the day itself, we could look at universal analytics and we would analyze the results from that point in time with in real time with universal analytics. With GA4, simply not that great at it. So this is why I highly recommend anybody to analyze that day with third-party attribution. The reason why I want to do this is because if you advertise multi-channel, omni-channel, you have an attribution nightmare. Your dashboard in Facebook might say you're reaching a 5 ROAS, but the third-party attribution tool tells you it's a 2 or less. So all ad platforms try to take credit for the same sale. That's because some uses 7-day, 1 view click attribution. And you know, Facebook takes credit for the impression, Google takes credit for a click in an impression through PMax. So it's just a nightmare to look at what you need to do. So you need to have an independent tool there to see and look at, okay, what are typically my first touch point channels? Because those are the key for scaling. If you know that that's Google, okay, you need to double down on Google. If you know that that's Facebook, double down on Facebook if that is for scale. So the non-biased tool will help you with real-time attribution and value per channel. So during the day, you will be able to analyze what's going on with all these channels and what is the real-time attribution and value per channel. So it gives you more data to work with, where you need to add more budget or maybe cut more budget away. Now, then we're going a little bit into the tacticals on the platform. So this is one message to rule them all. Leverage account-wide headline plus description assets. This is something new that I think they launched it this year or last year, I'm not sure. But now you can set headlines for entire campaigns. So what we typically did is when an event like Black Friday, Cyber Monday happened, we need to go in and either choose to tweak the existing accounts with a headline that implies a Black Friday sale, which was not the best because you're literally tweaking an existing performing ad. The other way how we did it was we created an experiment and we basically duplicated through the experiment the campaign, and we tweaked the ads and set the delivery to 90-10. It was a great act, not the best. Now we have the ability to simply use the headline on campaign level assets to add, for example, a 25% off BFCM deal in all ads across all the campaigns that we select. So this is a way easier mode. Would highly recommend to use that. And also do not forget to add a start and an end date, because otherwise, and I've seen this time after time, your title will stay even while the event is already passed. So there you can find that under the advanced options. So headline assets, you can do the same for description. Typically, I think headlines are enough. But if you want to do descriptions, you can do that as well. Then we have the promotion assets for search and PMax campaigns. Super easy. As we have all these assets like site links, callouts, structured snippets, etc. There's also one for promotions where you can maximize your sale event visibility by adding promotion extensions for this. I would highly recommend to do this on account level, so you don't have to do it separately for PMax or something else. You can navigate to assets and create the promotion. And also here, do not forget to set a start and an end date. The promotion type that you have available here is, again, monetary discount, percentage discount, and an up to discount. So it's a little different from what the merchant center promotions are, but it's enough to typically do that. And also you can add in, as you said here, a coupon code if you have, and it will show up pretty much like this. Countdown timers, also something you can leverage in search campaigns only, not in PMax. So even though PMax has search assets like a headline description, you cannot use it there. This is only for search campaigns. How you want to use it or why you want to use it, it's simply by creating urgency in your ads. As you can see here, offer ends in 4 days. Now, how you would set this up is if you type this symbol, I don't know what the name is, in your headline or your description, a countdown timer will appear. You select the dates that you want to have, and then it will say, in this case, 4 days. Everything that you write before or after it within the character limit will be taken away with that. So in this case, it's like offer ends in, and then the countdown timer starts. So this is real time, will adjust every day, but this is kind of like how you create urgency in your ads. And for example, then you get a really cool title like offer ends in 4 days, 25% Black Friday Cyber Monday deal. It's a pretty good scarcity and urgency type of headline. And again, only available in search campaigns. Then a lot of questions are always about creative strategy. Should I add new creatives for Black Friday Cyber Monday in my performance max? Yes or no? What should I do with prospecting, retargeting, re-engaging? What I would advise you to do first is always validate with the Mike Rhodes Performance Max script if your Performance Max campaigns are actually distributing any spend to display or video. As you can see here below, a lot of campaigns don't have no spend in display. They're simply occupied by shopping, and search, but no display. If that's the case, you do not need to worry about any creative strategy because you don't need to do it in PMax because you're not spending any money there. That means that you still have enough skill in shopping and search, and based on your targets and your spend, Google cannot spend money there. It typically goes from shopping to search, then video display. But if you still have money left or there's skill left, it won't go there. So the script will help you identify which assets are worth investing in for Performance Max campaigns. Now, if you're running display or video retargeting campaigns outside of Performance Max and they're delivering good results, then I would advise you to, yes, add Black Friday, Cyber Monday themed creatives. But I would also recommend, like if you're doing Meta and Google or you have run Meta, in Meta and TikTok, that side of stuff, you really want to emphasize hard and a lot of time on creating these assets. But for Google, I wouldn't recommend to do so because it's typically a lot of retargeting. What I would recommend you as an 80/20 is simply run your already best performing ads and simply add a Black Friday mention on them. So your best performing creatives that you run day to day, create a variant of them with Black Friday on it. Same for video. Super easy. Don't put too much time in them. Then the question is, do I create new asset groups for Black Friday events? And I've tested this myself as well. And based on the majority of data, it's simply not worth it. So what you want to do is throw in those Black Friday, Cyber Monday creatives in an existing asset group. The reason why is because PMax and the whole system is not built on creating an asset group for 2 days or 3 days and then pausing them again. So it's just simply better to tweak them at the right time, adjust the creatives, and then adjust them back. It's just a better mode. It is what it is. You can still do it, but the more volume you have, these little margins starts to matter. That's why, yeah, I would say just make sure that we can tweak it. The only downside is in regular video and display campaigns, we can create rules to say, hey, when to activate certain creatives or not. And in PMax, we don't have that control. So it's really up to you as to like, when do you change the creatives and when do they start running? Then talked about before, prepare your daily budgets before and during Black Friday weekend. Often advertisers forget to increase the campaign budget before a big sale event. They know there's going to come more conversions, but at some point they simply forget to increase their budgets. And as the ramping up period, as we saw beginning of November, for example, goes up, they see a limited by budget, but now it's a limited by budget because of a ramping up period. And that's a completely different seasonal event. And you want to emphasize that early. So review historical data to determine the optimal percentage increase in your budget for profitable returns. So again, if you do not have the data of last year or any other years, simply go by at least doubling the budget, but likely tripling that budget throughout. So monitor throughout Black Friday, Cyber Monday to make sure your budgets aren't exhausted too early. And that's where be aware that real-time data in Google. So if you look at today's data in Google Ads, there can be a delay up to three hours or longer. So don't make any decisions on that. That's where you need to use independent tools like third-party tracking tools to see what the actual results are in that moment. But you can monitor your budgets throughout Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And again, as the algorithms work in hindsight, they learned from something that already happened. They depend on your guidance to thrive during these spikes and surges with these sale events. And once more, push your budgets even further on Black Friday during the day once you've reached 80% of your limit at any time during the day. That's an important one to keep in mind. Then we have the next one, which is soften the bid strategy targets to drive optimal results. Now, here's the thing. Target return ad spend and target CPA, they work basically as a predictive machine based on a stable baseline. Now, during a sale event like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that stable baseline is gone because your conversion rate goes up. More people have a higher buying intent. There's more people that want to buy. So with all these stable factors enhanced, you should not expect the same outcomes. So as your conversion rates will spike, now you need to adapt more by decreasing your ROAS and increasing your CPA. So let's say on a regular day, we're running a performance max campaign or shopping campaign on a 200% return on ad spend, and we want to reach that level, or we want to reach somewhere there. On Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I would reduce it with at least 25 to 30% just to open up the floodgates for more traffic, because we have set a seasonal adjustment for conversion rate. We expect it to convert higher. We also add more budget to make sure that we won't get exhausted on clicks. And then on top of that, we're also easing our campaign targets. So decreasing the return on ad spend and increasing the cost per acquisition. This basically opens up another casting a wide net. You're gonna see, after tried this year after year, this works really, really well, because we're now capturing this influx of traffic and telling Google, hey, I expect a higher conversion rate. I give you more budget, and I want you to hunt for more people, and therefore I'm opening up, I'm decreasing my target, because I know my ROAS will be higher during this weekend anyway, because we think like a marketer and not like a robot of an algorithm. This is where these two worlds collide, and you need to know, like, if we reduce the target return ad spend during a sale event like this, we simply know that that's going to happen. So that's a very important part that you can apply to your campaigns. Then we have the thing where we call audiences, and especially leverage high value audiences. Double down on high average order value purchases, frequent buyers, etc., etc. So what you want to do, if you have not done this already, and this typically is easier with brands that, you know, have high volume, you want to upload one-party data customer lists with your highest spenders in Shopify, so high spenders in AOV, frequent buyers, and specifically Q4 shoppers of last year. You want to upload all these different lists. They can be then leveraged also by PMax and other campaigns, but you can also use those lists in upsell campaigns. So for example, I've run campaigns where if I have my main product and I know these people have already bought it, and if it's, for example, an edible or any type of other product, I can show them specifically, these people, the bigger bundle packages instead of just the one. So that's just simply upselling them. I can also use it as a re-engagement campaign and simply also nurturing campaigns. So using these lists is very, very effective for high volume brands and clients. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the buying power behind the event-based intent. So I want to combine the core keywords with seasonal intent. Now, what do I mean? Well, here we can see this is what in the last 5 years, people that are searching for Black Friday deals. Now you can see that it starts as early here as right about halfway through October, and it peaks obviously around the late November times. So these are people looking actively for Black Friday deals. And here's people that are looking for supplements Black Friday. So it's top of funnel intent, middle of funnel, top of funnel intent, like supplements Black Friday. As you can see here, this is October 29. So the ramping up period is kind of like a month up front, and it goes up, 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 up all the way. So you can imagine that normally you might not, if you're a supplement brand, supplements might not be a keyword you want to be found initially because it's super expensive and very competitive. However, when people are looking for this, now it might be the right time because there's simply a higher buying intent. So it might be time for you to try out a specific campaign for your core keyword, if that's skincare, supplements, goggles, snow goggles, and then with the word Black Friday on top of that, to see if there's any middle of funnel, top of funnel type of people that you can now reach simply by adding the word Black Friday, because there is seasonal intent happening that you would normally not fetch. So that's something to think about for individual clients. And then lastly, we're talking about smart and profitable traffic acquisition. Now, what does that mean? Well, as you saw earlier, there's a ramping up period typically. So you want to start buying traffic early. the closer we're getting to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the cost per meal, the CPMs are rising and rising. And on top of that, we have an election year. So up until November 5, the CPMs are going to be even more insane. So one of the best strategies that you can do, and this applies maybe a little bit more to Meta than for Google, except if you run YouTube ads, is where you want to build out your audiences early. You want to buy them early and then retarget it very heavily later on. You can do this in various ways. You can also have opt-in pages with early bird or preliminary Black Friday, Cyber Monday offers. You can build and categorize valuable audiences up to 540 days. And preferably you do this through GA4 so you can leverage them. And then you can ramp up your retargeting efforts during the final week and weekend. So that, that's the part where the actual buying happens. So that's one of the smart bidding strategies, being smart with traffic acquisition that you can do. And then lastly, don't forget about Bing ads. Some clients, typically, Bing ads can be 10 to maybe max 15% of the typical client in revenue and ad spend. So not everything in here applies to Bing, but it's very simple to also make a few adjustments on Bing simply to attract more customers, because Bing is then typically forgotten because everybody's focusing on Google Ads. But just don't forget about Bing. There's some options there that you can do as well. Now, there was a lot in here that you can use. If we're looking at the baseline, if we're looking at the 80-20, what is the 20% that you can implement for clients that have 80% results? Then I would say add always merchant center promotions. Make sure you add them on time to get reviewed. Add your promotion assets for your search campaign and for PMAX. Add a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale headline through the headline assets to apply to your whole account and all your search campaigns. Set the seasonality bid adjustments and make sure to look at historical data of what you need to set there. Increase your budgets and soften the target ROAS or the target CPA campaign targets to open up the floodgates. And then lastly, add Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale creatives only if you do spend on display or YouTube. And if that isn't the case on PMAX, you don't need to spend creative time on PMAX if that is not the case. That was it. Any questions so far?